Hey, family, always good to get with you, always good to be with you. And we are ready to go. Hey, man, I just want to give you some brutal truths about fat loss that nobody is telling you. I hope you are ready. I have prepared, and you're going to want to pay very, very close attention. Here it is, man. And this is particularly for people who are trying, right? If you're doing everything right and still not seeing results, this video is for you. You're eating clean, training hard, showing up, but the scale just won't budge. The mirror isn't changing and motivation is fading. You feel yourself about ready to give up. I just want you to know that's not failure. Fat loss doing, I just need you to know that that's not failure. That's fat loss doing what fat loss does. That is be persistent and hold in there and be strong. Fat loss moves slow by nature because it is fat and it's clumpy and it does not want to move fast. And that's why a lot of fat people can't move fast. Uh, Fat loss has a voice that you may have never acknowledged, but that voice is messing with your head. Fat loss is also a consistent test of consistency. It is fat loss doing what fat loss always does. And I do not want you to be discouraged by that. So come on in here if you need that. Today, I'm going to be breaking down 5 brutal truths about fat loss that nobody wants to say out loud, but I'm ready to say that today. If you're ready, type into the chat. I'm ready. These aren't motivational quotes. They are hard facts. And if you can handle the truth, let's get into it. If you can handle the truth, say, I can handle it. But I got to tell you these truths. All right. First thing I want to do is start with one that really messes with everybody's head. And that is the scale is lying to you. If the scale is your only scoreboard, then you are playing the wrong game. Talking to people who get on the scale and it's up one day and down another day and sideways another day. I'm talking to people who have wanted to throw the scale at the wall, just got mad, maybe even stomped on the scale because it just doesn't make sense. I want you to remember that change is happening even when the scale can't track it. And that's important. Don't get mad at the scale. It's doing what it's supposed to do, but it does not track all of the change that is happening. The scale isn't the truth. It's just a snapshot, right? You could be burning fat. You could be building muscle, right? You could be retaining water. And that number still won't move. In fact, sometimes it'll go up. So I need you to stop letting that number ruin your momentum and stop letting that number play with your confidence and stop letting that number get you down. Here's what I want you to measure. Measure your discipline. Somebody write down discipline. Measure your consistency. Somebody write down consistency and measure how your clothes fit. Now, some of y'all already got that together because you stop at how your clothes are fitting and you use that as the only metric. And so you then stop working out and you stop pursuing fat loss and you just buy clothes that cause you to look how you want to look. We don't want you to do that. The real transformation is understanding this brutal truth. So here's what I want to do. I'm going to tell you what to do. I want to give you some solutions. Number one, stop using the scale as your only metric of success. Stop using the scale as your only measure of progress. All right. And here, let me tell you when to do that. The moment you feel stuck. So the scale only becomes a problem when you feel stuck. If the scale is steadily going down and talking to you how you want to be talked to, you don't have a problem with it. So this is really an opportunity for people who feel stuck or feel defeated or tempted to quit. I have just given you a revolutionary option about how to change your thinking when you feel stuck, when you feel defeated, and when you feel tempted to quit. This is it. And it's a brutal truth. Okay. And here's why you do it. Because the scale has eyes, but the scale can't see muscle. The scale can't see inflammation. The scale can't see chemical change and hormonal shift. The scale can't see chronic stress. The scale can't see the various things that impact what the scale is measuring. Trusting it blindly will cost you your motivation, okay? And you'll walk away when you're actually winning. So, how do you track fat loss accurately without the scale being the loudest voice or being your God? And that's what I show people when I work with them, man. And I hope that if this is something that's valuable to you, man, I could work with you and we could do that. Do me a favor. Let's move on. All right. So if the scale doesn't break you, this next one thing might. I'm just giving you some brutal truths about fat loss that nobody wants to say out loud. So here is the truth. And you're going to get mad at me for this one. Motivation is a setup. It's a gimmick. Here it is. Motivation is the most overrated tool in fitness. It's the most overrated tool in fitness. If you wait for it, you will lose. Some of y'all sitting at the motivation train station still, trained and took off, and you waiting on it to come back. Say, if I could just get enough motivation, I will do it. Discipline is what you do when motivation ghosts you. I hope this hits home. You ever been ghosted? You ever been expecting something or someone to show up and they just left you hanging? That still hit home. That still trigger you. You set up a blind date with motivation. They didn't show. You had motivation on the calendar and they didn't make the call. You was at the motivation train station and it was supposed to come hours, days, weeks, months, years, maybe even decades ago, and it's still not here. It was a setup the entire time. What you needed was discipline. Somebody type discipline. Somebody type discipline now, because discipline is what you do when motivation ghosts you. Discipline is action more than thinking. Discipline is steps more than complaining. Discipline is a movement more than sitting still. Somebody type discipline, man. Drop it in the chat, man. So you're not always going to feel like doing it. Most of the time, if we're honest, we don't feel like doing it. And that's not the flaw. That's actually the setup, right? So that when your feelings wane, the action of discipline should kick in. Like motivation is a guest. It was not intended to be a permanent resident. Motivation is something that passes by and says hello and can look good and can sound good, but it is not one that you invite as the main ingredient, right? The only thing that gets you to move. Discipline, however, is the homeowner. Discipline should be the permanent resident. Discipline is the one that you learn to go to sleep with and wake up with and live with, so that when motivation leaves, because if Papa was a Rolling Stone, motivation was his partner. And so when motivation leaves, this is how you secure your habits so that they don't leave with it. Scott, I got a real question. When motivation leaves, will your habits keep you in the game? Will your habits keep you going? And honestly, that's what separates you from other people. That's what separates us from excuse makers. And that's what separates people who get results and people who don't get results. You should know it by now. You should be able to type it in the chat. You should write it in big letters in all caps. The word is discipline. So here's what I want you to do. I'd like for you to take the action of discipline and build a system that makes motivation optional, not mandatory. Take the discipline, build a system that makes motivation optional, not mandatory. And here's what I want you to do, because some of you guys are really motivated. That's why you're watching this right now. I want you to do that before motivation fades. And trust me, if motivation has not faded, it will fade. There are people who have motivation and it is connected to their actual life. Like if they do not take these steps, it's going to cost them their life. And even then it will fade. That is why you need discipline. That's why you need lifestyle. And that's why you need these habits. Trust me, motivation will fade. It is temporary. It is a setup. Motivation is Rolling Stone. You'll never hear that song again. And here's why you do it, man. Because if your plan requires hype, right? You need a hype man just to do it, just to keep going. This is actually bigger than fitness, but if you need a hype man just to keep you going, you'll fail the moment life starts lifing. Soon as life gets to be doing what it does, soon as the volume of everything surrounding these decisions increases, that hype man will be drowned out. Soon as life starts doing what it normally does. And here's it. This is quotable. This is something that you could take to Twitter, and this is something that you could take to Threads, and this is something you could take to Facebook, and this is something you could take to TikTok, something you could print on a shirt. Here it is. Discipline does not need applause. Discipline doesn't need applause. And listen, man, how do you like you might be saying, man, how do I put that system in place, man? Right? That runs even when motivation is gone. I don't know how to do that. I've tried. I've been here. I've been circling a long time. I do not have time to cover it in this moment, man. I honestly will share with you or work with you or will help to get you a customized version that actually works for you, man, when we can actually sit down and do it. I'm in the middle of this. So let me just keep going. This next one hurts. And it really feels unfair, but I'm going to give it to you anyway. Here it is. The next brutal truth about fat loss is that effort doesn't always equal instant results. Let me just put it this way. Effort does not guarantee instant results. Like some of you guys came into this effort with a top ramen cup of noodle mentality, with a frozen processed burrito mentality, with a microwave mentality, and that has been plaguing you the entire time. Effort does not guarantee instant results. I wish there was a microwave emoji that I could see in the comments, man. You're not plateauing. You're compounding. Did you hear me? You're not plateauing. You're compounding. You just haven't earned the mirror's response yet. Fat loss happens in silence before it ever shows up in the mirror. I'm going to say all that again because that motivated me. Every time I get to say it, I'll say it again. You're not plateauing. You're compounding. You just haven't earned the mirror's response yet. Fat loss happens in silence before it ever shows up in the mirror. You're eating clean. You're training hard. You're working hard. You're sweating. You're doing everything right. And that daggone mirror still looks the same. Does that sound familiar? I got news for you. That's not failure. That's lag time, buffering. Your body is adjusting on the fly, and it is adjusting on the inside before it rewards you on the outside. I need you to keep stacking effort. It's working even when it's quiet. Ooh, it's so good. It's so good. I'm gonna let that marinate. I'm gonna let that marinate. I'm gonna let that marinate. Fat loss happens in silence. And so it's funny because having fat, when it has taken residence, speaks really, really loudly, and it takes a lot of effort in order to hide the sound, the look, the impact of fat when it's on you. But when it leaves, it takes that fat goes silent and stealth and moves out. Volume turns down, and you have to wait for the evidence of that to show up. That's what we mean when we say you got to earn the mirror's response. How would you approach fitness if I told you what you're trying to do is earn the mirror's response. And I actually want to do something unique here. And I want to pull it out of the uh, the hands of people, and I want to put it into the hands of the mirror. Like, people are not your mirror. You're not going to stand in front of people before you stand in front of the mirror. You're trying to earn the mirror's response. You're trying to earn the mirror's response. People can be brittle, and people can be dishonest, and people can be too kind, and people sometimes don't tell the truth. And even if your mind is not right and your emotions are not right and your psychology is not right, you can misinterpret what the mirror is actually saying, but you still got to earn that mirror's response. Say this to yourself: I'm not plateauing, I'm compounding. If you got what I'm saying, say I got it. Fat loss happens in silence before it ever shows up. And so oftentimes what you may be seeing in the mirror is an ellipses. You may be seeing in parentheses a pause. You may be seeing a freeze frame that is waiting, and where it is that you are probably looking to be able to see a huge difference. The mirror might be speaking in snapshots. One day you're going to look up and be like, wow, there's an ab. Oh, wow, there's some lost inches. Oh, wow, there's some better skin. Oh, wow, there's a difference. So here's what you do. Keep showing up even when it looks like nothing is changing. Keep showing up even when it looks like nothing is changing. And here is when you do it. Right when your mind says, I'm telling you when to do this. Right when your mind says this isn't working. That's when you keep showing up. So the more you say this isn't working, the more you know it actually is. Come on, talk to me. The more you feel like you can track the evidence of your hard work, but you're looking and saying, I'm not seeing results, that's when you need to show up even more, because the change is happening in silence. Because your body transforms in layers, the silent layers come first. If you quit now, you never make it to the visible stages. Oh, I want to encourage those of you who are going through invincible transformation right now. You are invincibly becoming who you are working visibly to be. That change is happening. Feel inspired to tell you you're invincible if you can get that. And I want to be able to walk with you. I want to be able to hold your hand. I want to be able to show up on a regular basis and remind you of that. I want to remind you. I want to point you to the mirror. I want to help you interpret that. And that's something that I typically walk my clients through step by step. I hope this is helpful to you. I'm telling you. Got this nice little daily thing where we meet, we go over certain questions, we wrestle through certain dilemmas, and some of you guys are just one step away from overcoming some of these brutal truths that oftentimes keep you from progressing. Let me give you these other two, man, because even when you're consistent, there's a hidden cost. There's a hidden cost people forget about. And this is the fourth brutal truth. Fat loss will cost you something. Fat loss will cost you something, right? Fat loss should cost you something. It should. This lost you should cost you something, right? You can't want elite results and expect average effort. Fat loss has a bill and it's due every day. This is a daily payment. It's a daily toll. And maybe you drive to work every day and you hit the toll every day. Fat loss has the same cost. And it's every day, and sometimes it's twice a day. Discipline now equals freedom later. Discipline now equals freedom later. Discipline now equals freedom later. Freedom now equals what you get. You desperate to be free, but you don't want to pay the daily toll to get there. Stop talking to me about how free you want to be and show me your habits. Talking to me about how free you want to be. Show me what you do on a daily basis. Don't be around here admiring and scrolling and double tapping and complimenting and saying out loud that that's where you're going to be. And then every day you wake up and don't take the necessary steps. Fat loss isn't free. Okay? It's not free. There's a cost. It might cost you late nights. It might cost you fake friendships. It might cost you inconvenience. It might mean meal prepping when you're tired. It may mean working out when your friends are eating and brunching. It may mean carrying Tupperware around. It may mean saying no to certain desserts. It may mean overcoming alcoholic addiction. It may mean getting out of the sugar crave that you've been stuck in for weeks now. But guess what? The price is not punishment. It's payment. Price ain't punishment. It's payment. Come on. Type it to the chat, not punishment. Payment for transformation. Ooh, this is so good. Write this down, man. Write this down. The people who win pay up front. Winners pay up front. You're welcome. Winners pay up front. You're welcome. So decide what you're willing to let go of to get what you want. This is a crossroad for you. What are you willing to let go of to get what you want? What are you willing to let go of to get what you want? And before you before you jump out of here, man, do it before you commit, man. Because if you don't know the price, you'll back out when it's time to pay. Some people say they're going to get a brand new car until they realize how much it costs. Some people say they're going to go and buy a certain brand of clothing till they realize how much it costs. Some people look and they say, I want that, until they realize how much it costs. So before you make this commitment, understand what the cost is. I'm telling you the cost. I'm telling you the cost. You can look. I'm telling you for what I know. Because if you're unwilling to sacrifice comfort, if you're unwilling to sacrifice convenience, you'll never access the transformation and change you want to see. If you're unwilling to pay that cost, it's going to be problems for you. And this is why, I try to take time to work with people to build and customize a life that they can sustain. I try to help them to understand what the individual cost will look like for them, right? So that they don't feel punished by fat loss. I stress that. I say that. I remind them of that. Like, you can't, like, your decision can't be my decision. You can't do the exact same thing that I'm doing. Your structure, your balance, and your results have to be customized to what you need and what you want and what your goals are, so that you don't burn out. You may have tried a one size fit all and it burns you out because nobody sat with you, helped you to curate that in a way that really, really fits your way and who you are. And so finally, man, I'm on the fourth one, the one that most people ignore. It's one that we tend to forget. And it's why we never finish the journey. And here it is. Your breakthrough lives on the other side of the quitting point. So your breakthrough is on the other side. Like, you have to get to the place where you feel like quitting in order to experience breakthrough. Most people quit right before their body starts to change. Don't be most people. Most people quit right when they're getting ready to see what they are asking for, right before they're getting ready to be able to acknowledge that something is different. People quit there. And so your next level lives just past a familiar street called I'm done. Right? You ever said that to yourself? I'm just done. I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore. Screw it. I forget it. Right past that street, that's where that transformation is. So the moment you say I'm done, the moment you say this isn't worth it, the moment you say screw it, the moment you begin to play the soundtrack of why am I not seeing progress, the moment you begin to do that, please know that is not the end. That may be a stop sign, that may be a speed bump, that may be a checkpoint, but that is not the end. That's actually the beginning of the breakthrough. This is now where you see a graduation happening, and fat loss gets real after the feelings fade. The body doesn't reward early efforts, it tests commitment first. So you have got to, and I want you to type this into the chat, you have got to push through. That's where the shift starts. So push anyway. Push anyway. Push regardless, especially when you want to stop. This principle that'll help you push through. And right after that first I want to quit enters your head, that's when you know you're doing something special. Right? When that it means you pushing them limits. Come on, baby. That's why trainers smile at you when they see you getting to that I want to quit point. That's why they cheese, because they can see what's on the other side. I don't know if you can, but you do know today. And because that resistance is proof that change is happening, and the discomfort is an indicator that you're moving into the growth zone, man. And some of y'all just need to flip right during that moment. You need somebody to push you right over the top, man. And I try to do that. Mindset means everything. Some people have benefited for having somebody who really knows them well enough to push them past their own limits, man. So look, man, fat loss isn't about hype. It's about headspace. We're not just out here trying to pump you up. We're trying to change the way you think, because if you change the way you think, you change the results that you get, you change the outcome, change the way you talk, and of course you get results. Most people quit when it's quiet. I'm trying to turn up the volume to show you the way. You know, when the scale doesn't move, when the body is giving you zero indication that you're achieving progress, when nobody's applauding you and pushing you, but you have these 5 brutal truths, you'll build a body and a mindset that is unshakable. If this hits home, do me a favor and drop a comment. Let me know which one of these truths resonated with you the most. And if you're ready to stop guessing and start executing, subscribe, lock in, let's go to work, because fat loss isn't a process, but you're built for the process, man. If you've been rocking with me, I appreciate you. And if you're climbing, meet me at the top.